Yes, I think we are ready. We apologize for a little delay. We were waiting some participants, but I think if you are ready, and I also see Mr. Alvaro also is ready, and I think Mr. Roca will be ready soon, and we are just waiting for Mr. Lerhe, but it's time to start. We apologize for this delay again. Dear guests, distinguished participants, welcome to the Turkish Railway Summit. We have two venues for this summit. One is traditional and historical and very important in Turkish history and also international railway history, Sirkeci train station. So the second one, we are at this moment in this online session. We will discuss different aspects of rail systems and discuss your reform efforts and projects. And this is Hakan Çelik. My name is Hakan Çelik. I'm a journalist, a train friend and enthusiast who closely follows all kinds of transportation systems. I've traveled with important railways in many countries of the world, including in Asian countries, Japan, China, in Europe, every kind of and almost every train systems, including Austria, Switzerland, Germany, France, TGV, and other high-speed and normal-speed train systems, and of course in Italy as well, and Bulgaria, our neighbor. I love trains. I like trains, and I support its cultural environment. I have written many articles and made television programs to spread this railway culture so far, and I believe your contributions will be very important, very valuable, especially as a representatives of Europe's respected and important institution. Look forward to hearing from you. First, I would like to give the floor to the Mr. Ali İhsan Uygun. He is the general manager of the Republic of Turkey State Railways company. In this panel, we will also be together with Dr. Christoph Lerhe. He will be joined us soon. He's European Deutsche Bahn European Transport Policy Director. Mr. Giovanni Rocca, FS Vice President, International Business Development Department from Italy. Mr. Murat Hürmen, he is at the moment in Turkey, but he works with the Austrian Railways company, ÖBB. He is Austrian Railways General Manager of Rail Cargo Company in Turkey. Ms. Nelly Nikolaev from Bulgaria, our neighbor NRIC, Bulgarian Railways Strategic Development and Investment Projects Manager. She's together with us. Thank you for joining us. And Mr. Alvaro Andres Algu Asil from Spain, ADIF Spanish Infrastructure Manager, International Project. He's an international project manager. All welcome, and it's a privilege to host all distinguished members of international railways institutions and environments. First of all, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Ali İhsan Uygun for welcoming speech, for greetings. Yes, sir, Mr. Uygun. I
Sirkeci Garı'nda siz değerli panelist ve katılımcıları ağırlamaktan duyduğum memnuniyeti ifade etmek isterim.
I'm honored to host you in this magnificent place at Sirkeci Station, where Western passengers, travelers, and merchants from Europe first set foot who want to see the riches of the East. I do not hear Mr. Uygun's voice at the moment.
Demir yolları diğer ulaşım modları ile kıyaslandığında pek çok avantajı bünyesinde barındırır.
Railway
Yoğun, tercih
compared
edilecek
to
bir ulaşım.
other sorts of transport, and
Biraz da bu
thus
avantajların neler
it is
olduğundan bahsetmek istiyorum.
an advantageous sort of transport.
Demir
Let me
yolları çevrecidir,
mention those advantages.
ekonomiktir. Bu iki avantajın doğal sonucu olarak da sürdürülebilirdir.
As a matter of these
Tek
both
seferde
advantages,
ve
it is a
uygun
sustainable
maliyette daha fazla yük ve yolcu taşımacılığına
and
imkan
thus
sağlar.
it facilitates passengers.
Sanayi üretiminin hızını, kabiliyetini ve kapasitesini artıran ulaşım modu olarak bütün
And thus,
dünyada
as a
20. yüzyıla
transport
damgasını vurur.
mode, it has made its impact on the 21st century. I'm sorry, I'm hearing Mr. Uygun in a very distorted manner.
Bu kapsamda ulaşım
Not only in our country, but in the global world, this is named as a new era in transport. But railways are high cost. It is a high cost industry. And within the sustainable development goals of Turkey, Turkey needs to make lots of investments in railways. So because of those, so about 168 million Turkish liras have been invested in our railways. Distinguished participants in the railway industry, the fast development in the logistics industry are making us form a system that responds to higher expectations. So a reform is dearly needed. So in order to make this happen, so many types of reforms have been made throughout the world, and they are continuing to be made. And this reform will result in mitigating the responsibilities of the government and also mitigating the costs. And also facilitate a sustainable model which does not result in losses and which will create a competitive atmosphere and thus increase the share of railway industry in the overall economy and transport economy. Also, when we look at the reform examples in the world, in 1994, in Germany, our German colleague is not together with us yet, but in 1994, as the both Eastern and Western Germany gathered together, the German railways were faced with new additional costs, and they were creating a burden on the public funds. So this was discussed in the German parliament, and the German railways are going to be managed under private law, was the decision taken as a matter of this event. And from 1994 until the beginnings of 2000, as a matter of this decision, the debts of German railways were brought to zero and became a company that made more than 50 if would say the same things for Russia before 2001. There was a public-based structure, but they went through a period of reforms, and thus a new structure was prepared. Between 1995 and 2001, new regulations were prepared, and thus the Russian airway, as of 2001, was able to enter a competitive environment. Within this net scope, the new reforms have been made by France, England, and in France, as of 2019, they transformed their transport and infrastructure under SMTA and U. And at this point, they brought their advancement further. In Ukraine, for Ukrainian railways, they signed a 10-year joint operating agreement with the German railways at the government level, and they started to revise their infrastructure, and they started to manage it under a new framework. Distinguished participants in the development of our country, railways have a very important role to revive the important role of the railways. So that it gets to be a sustainable one, which is in line with the regulations of the European Union. In the past few years, apart from new investments, the reorganization of TCDD, Turkish Railways, have also become a central question. And when we look at the infrastructure investment, we see that between 1923 and 1950, there has been a total of 3,764 kilometers of railways were constructed with an average of 134 kilometers per year. As during the 1951-2002 period, a total of 145 kilometers of railways were constructed with an average of 18 kilometers per year. So thanks to the priority given to the railway sector since 2003, A total of 2,761 kilometers of new railways were constructed with an average of 153 kilometers per year. Our railway length, which was 10,959 kilometers in 2003, increased to 12,800 in 2009, and with 1,213 kilometers of the high-speed line, the rate of the double lines increased from 5% to 30%. It has become inevitable for our country to realize reforms that enable the actors in the sector in order to increase the share of railways in freight and passenger transportation. Within this framework, when we look at the reform process of our country, the adventure that started in 1856 gained momentum with the establishment of the Railways Administration in 1872 and nationalizations of the lines owned by foreign companies since 1924. While the process of establishment maintained under various names over the years, by the year 1953 it became a state-owned enterprise under the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure, named as the Entity of Turkish State Railways, TCDD. In 2011, the first step of liberalization in the railways was the establishment of regulatory and supervisory organizations, and these duties were taken from TCDT and it became the status of an implementer. With the regulation in 2013, the monopoly of TCDT in railway transportation was abolished, and the legal basis for railway transportation activities was created in accordance with the EU legislation. In 2017, the CCDD Taşımacılık AŞ transportation corporate company was established in the first subsidiary of TCD as a result of liberalization, and private companies started to carry out freight transportation. In 2020, 3 railway vehicle manufacturing companies under TCD have been combined under a single roof and directly affiliated to the Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure, named as TURESAŞ. Passenger transportation operated by TCDT Transportation Company will be open to the participation of private companies by 2021, and liberalization in the passenger transportation will be completed. Now, I would like to thank the heroes of this great transformation. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to our president, Mr. Recep Tayyip Erdogan, the architect of this transformation. I would like to express my gratitude to our Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure, Mr. Adil Kara İsmailoğlu, who took the railways as the first agenda item of his duty. I would like to travelers and stakeholders who have made strong collaborations with us. On the other hand, I would like to thank the esteemed railway people and my colleagues who glorified TCDD with their hard work in every climate and geography from Edirne to Kars. I believe that the Turkish Railway Summit, where the railways are handled in such a comprehensive and qualified manner, will be a highly sign of important development. I'd like to express my gratitude to our ministry, which has implemented this important program, and the organization committee, and those who contributed to the summit, and I greet you all with respect.
Thank you very much for your speech,
Çok
Mr. Ali
teşekkürler.
Uygun. And Mr. Ali Uygun is the general manager of the Republic of Turkey State Railways company. And now we are still waiting Mr. Lerhe from Deutsche Bahn from Germany, but I would like to go to Rome first, Italy. Mr. Giovanni Rocca is ready. And Mr. Roca, floor is yours, please.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you
Okay, super.
clearly.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure. I really thank the General Director, the honor also to receive the General Director and the CDD delegation in Rome before all this pandemic problem. So we know the evolution of the TCDD and we know also the targets of the TCDD. So if someone can put my presentation, I will go straight to the focus on the summit of today.
Sure. I will kindly ask our technical friends, colleagues, to prepare immediately a presentation to share with our audience, and then he will continue his speech.
Yes. Okay. In the waiting for the presentation, let me say that I focus my presentation on the title of today, so reform of railways, and with not only a focus on the Italian experience, but also giving the idea from the European countries. So you will see in the first slide of the presentation the liberalization in the railway sector in the European Union. Everything comes from the 91/440, so 1991, and there were
Is there a technical issue with Mr. Roca's voice?
no, I can hear you.
Okay, great.
Can you hear
Please.
me? For the next slide, just to speak with the right slide before behind me. Okay, perfect. So as it's written in the slide, there were 4 packages in order to regulate the liberalization in Europe. So the principle of separation, unbundling of railway sector services from infrastructure management in Europe was introduced with the 91/440, as I mentioned before. The last package, the 4th railway package, opened the national passenger transport market to competition. You have to keep in mind that in Italy, the competition is already an issue since 2001. So we open our door before the regulation of the European. Next slide, please. Next. Okay, perfect. So the organization of the European models. With every country has interpreted in their way the separation. In our country, well, in the European country, there are 2 models: the separate model and integrated model. The separate model, it was adopted by Sweden, Great Britain, also Spain, and other countries. So there was a complete separate in different companies without any holding, the infrastructure management and railway undertaking. Integrated model instead is the vertically integrated approach that is the same in Germany, in Italy, in Austria, with the presence of a hold. Next slide, please. Next. Okay, with this chart, you have a clear picture of separation and with just an accounting separation. That is the case of Ireland or Hungary or Switzerland or one of the Baltic countries. And instead, there is the approach of the complete separation that is in Spain, in UK, in Sweden, and in other countries. So according to a study that was commissioned by CER, Community of European Railway and Infrastructure Companies, in 2012, so many years ago, it was realized that a complete separation, so from infrastructure manager and railway undertaking, it means an increasing of the cost from 6 billions of euro, I mean in Europe, to 15 billions of euro. So dramatically increasing of cost. Next slide, please. Okay, these are the organization of Deutsche Bahn, and these are the organization of the Italian Railway. So as you can see, we have more or less the same structure with holding companies, shareholder companies that are controlled by the holding through the specific companies, because the mission of today is just to explain how we manage. Next slide, please. Okay, which are the advantages of the holding model? The unique and transversal organization set up assures strong synergy, uniformity, and collaboration with holding and subsidiary. There is also a strong coordination between the companies, so not only with the holding and subsidiary, but also with the separate companies dedicated for specific topics like station or operation and maintenance or infrastructure manager and so on. But every company has their independency for the missions and also the responsibility on the budget and the proper goals. So they have responsible for the KPIs and they have specific performance indicators. Then last but not least, the cost. Mediation of holding for resolving conflicts among subsidiary companies is very, very important. That's my job every day. So I'm an expert in this. And also centralized public procurement. Again, it's very important in order to reduce the costs. And last but not least, information technology system, one for all. It's another way to work together and to reduce the cost. Next slide, please. No, it's too much. Okay. Yeah, that's just a bit. Okay, now yes. Okay, just to come to us, to Italian railway approach, we started our journey in 1905 with the creation of Italian Railways, Ferrovie dello Stato Italiane. In 1985, FS became a public entity. So it was creating a specific budget ownership of the company. In 1992, FS became a joint stock company with 100% of the shares in the hands of the government, specifically in the hands of the Ministry of Economic and Finance, due to the fact that the Ministry of Infrastructure and Transportation has some, what can I say, PSO, public service obligation with the FS and with the company controlled by FS. So in order to avoid any conflict of interest, it was decided to give all the shares in the hands of the Ministry of Economic and Finance. Then it was creating in 2001 two separate companies. One holding it's a country in which the liberalization is a matter of fact since 2011. So we have a very famous competitor on high speed. The name is Italo. Italo is running on our network every day in competition with Trenitalia, and RFI, the infrastructure manager, has to guarantee the same right of access to every competitor. And we have more than 40 competitors in the freight sector. So another important issue, competition. Competition is very important and is very useful in order to increase the level of the services that you can offer to your customer. Then clear contractual relationship with public and private stakeholders. Market service need to stay on a market without state aids. This is important. Of course, there are some PSO, as I mentioned, for specific area of the countries, but high speed is a service on the market without any aid to everyone. Same rules for every competitor. And at the end of everything, the splitting between railway undertaking and infrastructure management with the holding, it makes sense, create business and profitability. Next slide, please. Next. Okay. Okay. No, that's fine. That's fine. Okay. When I say create revenues, okay, create revenues means that we had the possibility to expand ourselves also abroad. So we bought two companies in UK, C2C and Avanti West Coast. The two companies are actually one of the point of reference in UK for traffic. We have two companies in Germany. Netinera is an important player in the local transportation in Germany, and TX Logistics is an important player in Germany for freight transportation. We have a company in France. Hello is a competitor of SNCF in France. Trenose, we bought the Greek company, Trenose. So we are the unique operation and maintenance operator in Greece. We have a company, we are the second, my friend from Spain can underline also this aspect. We are in competition with Renfe, and we are the second operator. We will start our activity at the beginning of 2022. And last but not least, we have a company in Netherlands, a bus company in Netherlands, with a specific topic. Is the whole fleet of the buses are electric ones. So with a huge presence with branches around the world, with one company in the United States and one company in Saudi Arabia. Next slide, please. Next. So revenues, as I told you, is very important, but also the control of the cost is very, very important. So in the last years, we obtained under very, very good results. I just want to mention some specific items like EBITDA and EBITDA margin. We closed 2019 before COVID. COVID is a different world, everybody knows. So keep 2019, we closed with 2.6 billions of euro of EBITDA and with a margin of percent. So it's very good, very, very good, outstanding results. Next slide, please. Next. So just this chart is saying that we are covering almost every sector of the transport and of the infrastructure. So Turkey is a very important country for us. We are based in Istanbul with one branch of the the foreign branch, and we are working in Turkey since more than 10 years. We started with the design of the connection between the airport of Ankara and the downtown of Ankara. We work for the bus train in order to test the high-speed line in Turkey. So our connection with Turkey, with TCDD specifically, it's very, very tight. And we want to keep in this way. We are the unique company for high and conventional road. So we have the capacity to pass through high speed, to regional suburban rail, to fast freight transport. So we are the only company that has created a high-speed train for the packaging, DHL, Amazon, and so on. Every night there is a train from the northern of Italy to the southern of Italy in order to give via train and not via airplane the package. So in this way, I don't want to take your time. In this way, I just want to stress 2 points during my presentation. First of all, that we are perfect in matching the targets of the European Union for the separation, but keeping of the sector. Second aspect important is the increasing of the revenue.
Italy is a very important country in Europe, also in Mediterranean basin. But additionally, we know that you have also very important and strong connections with the Central and the Northern European. And with your presentation, we learned that your company and Italian railway companies also, they are also major players in not just in Europe, also in a global manner with the perfect transportation. Enjoyed your presentation. Thank you very much again. And now I would like to go to, thank you, Bulgaria. Miss Nelly Nikolaeva Andreeva. She's Bulgarian Railways Strategic Development and Investment Projects Manager. Yes, we are ready to listen you. The floor is yours,
Hello, do you
please.
hear me? Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I would like to ask you to upload the short presentation. It will be
Sure.
easier for me to present you our projects that we implement and that we envisage to finance in the next programming period. I'm not
Yes.
that in the focus of the summit, but this is what I do, and this is what we do with my team, EU-funded projects. So I will present you shortly what the company is about to do and my directorate that I'm a manager of. So next slide, please. national railway infrastructure company. This is the only railway operator, the infrastructure manager in Bulgaria, established in the beginning of 2022 when it was divided from the rolling stock operator. Before that, the two companies were together, and we are the largest state-owned enterprise and the only railway infrastructure, as I said. So we want to ensure a level of playing field for all licensed railway operators, train operators, like in the moment. Next slide, please. I would like to present our ongoing projects that we implement at the moment. We have three sources of financing, as I said. I'm responsible for the red and the blue. These are the projects financed under the Connecting Europe facility and operational program Transport and Transport Infrastructure in the period 2014-2020, with the 2023 year project. So we can spend the money until then, maybe. We envisage modernization and rehabilitation of the railway infrastructure, mainly along the core 10T network, and particular along the Orient East Med corridor, with a speed of 160 kilometers per hour and up to 200, where it could be implemented. And currently, we are beneficiary of two main programs, as I said, the Connecting Europe facility and the operational program, which are funded through the European Regional Development Fund and the Cohesion Fund. So the ongoing projects that we implement under the operational program, they're in blue on the map of Bulgaria. They're maybe very little and you cannot understand, but I will not lose your time. The other instrument, which is Connecting Europe facility, we have four major projects with total value of almost €500 million. So we are now preparing projects for the next programming period, 2021 with 2027. We are preparing technical border. Design, and in near future we will proceed with financing the construction works. During the period 2000 and the logical succession of the investments from the previous period, in order to eliminate the existing bottlenecks in the for the development of the railway infrastructure in Bulgaria are mostly, as I told you, concentrated along the Orient-East Med corridor. New EU recovery facility full completion of the modernization. Yes, this is it. Of the railway line from Sofia to Macedonian border, also Sofia to Serbian border, construction of railway stations, construction of intermodal terminals, and development of railway nodes. And the direction to Romania and Macedonia. As an important project, also I would say that deployment of ERTMS, because we have to complete it until the end of 2030, according to EU regulations. So we are planning to do our best to fulfill all these criteria. The EU recovery for funding the negative effects from COVID pandemic, as I said, this is one of the main tools to support the EU recovery plan. And within the next generation EU, A total amount of 6 billion euro will be allocated for Bulgaria. By the end of April 21st, Bulgaria must prepare and the European Commission should sustainability and development plan. Currently, for inclusion in the National Plan for Sustainability and Development, the company has proposed projects which are related to modernization of traction power substations, along the systems for digital, again, construction of intermodal terminals and construction of railway stations in line with the EU requirements. With all these investments, which are planned and ongoing, we are aiming to achieve development, modernization of the railway infrastructure along the corridor in compliance with the EU standards and criteria.
Ms. Andreeva from Bulgaria. We have Bulgaria is a very important neighbor of Turkey. We have very important trade relations with this country. Also, strong connections, physical connections, motorways and the railways. And the Bulgarian modernization project on the railways is also very important. We are neighbor and we are connected. And when Turkey finishes Kapıkule-Halkalı route line in railways, between Berlin and Istanbul will be connected with high-speed trains. So it is also important the Bulgarian position in southeastern Europe and the Balkans as well. And of course, this country has a long shore in Black Sea coast. Thank you very much again for this information. And I have two short questions for Italy, for Mr. Rocca. Mr. Rocca, can you hear me?
Yes, clear.
Thank you. My first question, how is your relations with the Italian government, or let's say Italian state, in terms of investment and management subjects? This is the first question. And the second one, what is the function of with the bigger company? I mean the holding. I'm talking the holding. What is your main functions in this company? Is it also just the strategical connection, or can you please a little bit give us some more information about this structure?
Well, with a pleasure. So,
Thank
for the first question is the government has the same role of every owner of the private companies, because you know FS is SPA in Italian language. That means a private, according to the private law. So there are shareholder agreement, and 100% of the shares are in the hands of the government. So the government five national and international. The vision is to give all the guidelines and the strategy to the control company. They give, we give to all the companies the guidelines, the main lines, the main specific targets for every companies, and the rules that they have to follow. The responsibility of the business are in the hands of every single control company. So if we want to evaluate the business of engineering, you have to ask to Italfer, our control company for engineering. Or if you want to ask the numbers and the targets and the budget for Trenitalia, again, this is something that is in the hands of Trenitalia, and so on. But the guidelines are from the holding. And also the way to, as I mentioned before during my presentation, the way to buy the specific systems and so on, it's managed by the holding. The approach for every legal problem is managed by the holding, and so on. So this is the strategic indication, but also regulatory indication. So we give the rules, and they have to play their business in their mode, but with our rules. I hope that I replied.
Mr. Roca, thank you for this information and answers. And now I would like to go to Spain,
When
another
you
friendly
time, Mr. Hakan, Mr.
please.
Hakan, when you have possibility, I will ask to you or to the general director if they can give us some information regarding the latest development for railways in Turkey in the aspect of the reform of the.
Of course.
Whenever you want.
Okay, thank you very much. I will do this. But first, I would like to go to Spain, and then I would like to listen the experiences of Austrian railways, and then I will come to if you have a time. Maybe Mr. Ali Ihsan Uygun could give some information about their future.
Has been very interesting to know firsthand the experience in Turkey, also the experience in Italy, and the state of the ongoing projects in Bulgaria. I can only endorse what has previously said, which underline the important role of the railway nowadays in our countries and also in Europe, as we are all connected. In my case, I speak on behalf of ADIF, also with Turkey, with TCDD, which has been very prolific in the past years under the bilateral collaboration agreements we have. Okay, thank you. Well, following your indication, in my case, I focus not in the reforms of or on the ongoing projects, but in the process of the liberalization of the commercial passenger services in Spain, that today, nowadays, is really present in our company. Okay, so next, please. Okay, thank you. So first, let me start with a few words to give you a quick pictures about who we are, what we do. Well, as you see, maybe in the next one, I suppose you have the text later, the available presentation. Okay, thank you. This is the current scenario in Spain. So ADIF is a public company attached to the Spanish Ministry of Transport, Mobility and Urban Development. So ADIF, we are the infrastructure manager. So we are responsible for the design, construction, supervision and maintenance of the rail network, and also responsible for the network traffic management and the stations. Also, you see there, because after I mentioned during the presentation that the Spanish, what we call the Spanish Railway Agency, that is also a fundamental piece in our system. Also, I mentioned later in the presentation the regulator, the national regulator, the CNMC, what is the public entity independent but subject to independent from the government, but also subject to the control of the parliament, whose also the main function is to preserve the proper development of the activity in all the sectors, including the railway sector. After you see, well, the infrastructure manager, ADIF. Well, in fact, ADIF, we split it into two companies, ADIF and ADIF Alta Velocidad. That means ADIF High Speed. Functions performed by each entity and the way to finance the activities. But in fact, I continue talking about ADIF in general, as we are known as the infrastructure manager. But also, for example, in the case of Renfe, the operator, the main operator, we can say at the moment, is not only a unique company, it's also it's composed by several branches with 4 companies. Okay, so we are the infrastructure manager. Now, Renfe is the operator for passenger traffic. Next one. Well, at the moment, freight transport was fully liberalized in the past. There are more than 20 companies that has the license to operate in the network, and passenger transport is going to be liberalized this year. So in fact, it's in December 2020. There will be 3 companies or 3 groups of companies: Renfe, Rielsfera, and ESA. The colleague Mr. Roca has mentioned before that we operate in the main high-speed corridors in the coming years. This new strategic plan, what we call the Agenda 2030, that aims to optimize our competitiveness and sustainability. Well, here I just wanted to show you the main figures. So we are responsible for a network of more than 15,000 kilometers, including the network of high speed, more than 3,000 kilometers. Still, there are more than 1,300 kilometers of high speed under construction or in project phase. We are responsible of more than 1,500 passenger stations and 40 freight terminals. And our particular challenging situation scenario in Spain is that we have different track gates. So what we call the standard gates, the UIC standard gates, mainly in the high-speed network, and also the Iberian gates is weirder than the previous one, the metric, and also there are different parts of Spain where we have the mixed gates. So the two of them, the standard one and the Iberian one. Next one, please. Okay, and this is the scheme of our network. You see, for example, in blue, the height speed that we are going to see during the presentation. Next one. And next. Okay, as I mentioned, I'm going to talk about the process of liberalization of the passenger services in our network. The Italian colleague, Mr. Roca, has explained before the evolution of the different European railway packets. So the fourth one was approved in December 2016 and has been, as the other obligation that will be subject of a future liberalization. I said before that freight traffic liberalized started in 2005. In 2007, new companies started to operate in the overall productivity of the system. Next one, please. Well, as the other states, the procedures established by ADIF different packets in order to establish a long-term duration agreements with those companies. It was said between 5 to 10 years. In fact, the three that we have at the moment is for 10 years. At that liberalization model is applied for the three axes. We're going to see the next one. Oops. And next. Okay, you see that in color, the three axes that apply this framework capacity offer. So the one from Madrid to Barcelona and connection to the flex border, the one to the east, Madrid, Valencia, Alicante, and the one to the south, Madrid, Sevilla, and Malaga. In fact, those were the corridors where the potential operators were more interested in order to operate. Okay, the allocation criteria is going to give the priority for the use and the priority of access to those companies to these corridors. Next one. It has been a long process, but in any case, always in close and continuous contact with the national regulator, and also listening all the opinions from the world companies interested in the operation in our network. Okay, here I mentioned the first part of the process milestone you have seen in the previous slide. So it was in July last year, in July 2019, when the last edition of the network statement detailed the characteristic of that at this capacity offer, so that the world companies interested in the operation can apply. Okay, so that document, the network statement, previously were sent to the regulator and also to the railway companies, meaning that the text finally approved included a significant number of allegations and also amendments to that document. Okay, and also with approval, of course, and endorsement of the European Commission of the ministry. Next one. As I mentioned before, the model is based in order to establish long-term agreements with those potential operators, with the aim of ensure that new companies to have the guarantee, the certainty that as they have to invest in the rolling stock and in the new trains, that in the long term they will have this capacity reserve. So that's why the model established is established in this proposal of establish long-term framework agreements. Also, these long-term framework agreements from our side, as infra manager, is a way also to optimize the capacity and also to ensure that we have the traffic reserve over a period of several years. Okay, next one. I mentioned before that last year was published this model in 3 packets, including the 3 corridors. So that capacity is presented with a reference of the corridors and the packets. Depending on the numbers of that, numbers represent the number of train paths or circulation per day. Okay. For example, in the case of if we take the package A, or maybe if we talk about the corridors, in the case of Madrid-Barcelona, the current offer is 53 circulations per day. What we have done is to publish an offer of, excuse me, there is a mistake. Okay, sorry, there's a mistake. Well, I'll try to correct because, well, I just have seen the mistake. Well, in the case of the Madrid-Barcelona, the current offer is 30, not 53. The total offer now is 53, meaning that we have increased the offer in all the corridors. Okay, so ADIF has offered an overall capacity 50% higher that the one currently offer in order to increase that presence of new operators in the line. I don't know if you have understood more or less the idea. The next one, please. Okay, so with the global figures I mentioned before, is that we have increased the offer proposed to the operator, but in fact, what we have offered is we have a the way the candidates could apply is they can apply according to their business plan to a certain package and try to to establish a plan according to the offer in the package in the 3 corridors. Okay. Okay. So in the next slide, please. Happened this year is that we have 6 applications were received. The requests of the capacity were higher than the offer, meaning that we have to coordinate the person of the operation in the different packets, giving the priority of the use of the corridors proposed. The process you have seen before. Operating is ILSA, as the colleague from Italy has mentioned, and Real Esfera is, well, in fact, it's 100% from SNCF. Okay, so, but also this process with the process for the following years. Next one. Before I mentioned that we have published the 70% of the framework capacity declaration, we have allocated, there is a part of that capacity not used that is integrated in the scenario to apply. And now next one. Also in the document, the remaining capacity and also the calendar for the request for the following period. Next one. A unique operator for the services of passengers, not in freight, and really has been a challenging situation. But we have seen also the interest, a strong interest from the candidates and also from the society. So really has been really challenging that. Well, the ideas of the evaluation of the process here, I wanted to mention with the main stakeholders involved during the process, starting with the European Commission, the DG Move, that, well, in fact, the system for the liberalization of the process complies with the directives and the Spanish regulation. The capacity assignment model was presented to the European Commission, and also, well, we have to explain the compliance with the directives. Also, if I talk about the Ministry of Transport, all the process has been really, we have the complete independence during the process, during that liberalization process, but both the European Commission and the Ministry granting the specific support to the process that we have followed. As I just mentioned, that process has been the really the most important strategic project implemented in the last years. Also, I said before that we really expect it to stimulate the sector and to improve the mobility and to have more and better services, including other operators and including other new players. We have 6 candidates this year. 3 of them will operate in the high-speed network according to that framework agreement. But we are sure that we are going to boost the incorporation of new operators in the coming years. Next one. I mentioned in the process the regulator. The collaboration with them and the communication has been really close and constructive. The supervision of the regulator has been essential to ensure the success and to ensure also that we were including the opinion of the companies and the different reports and the different documents developed during the process. Also, the relation with the companies. Now they are preparing the operation. Renfe is operating. Renfe is a big change and now has to play with the same rules as the other companies. But that competition also has been an opportunity to them in order to think about new products. Now they're trying to launch a new low-cost product. It was expected this year, but because to the pandemic situation, they're going to delay. Real Esfera from SNCF is going to start operating April next year. So now passenger can buy today a ticket for next year with that new product called WeGo. And ILSA, as Mr. Luca has mentioned before, is expected to start operation in 2022. Next one. Besides, also the liberalization model is an opportunity to improve, to promote that sustainable mobility, that efficient and sustainable mobility and the use of the infrastructure has been one of the objectives in our strategic plan, but also in the plan of the government. And also what we have seen that process of liberalization model has undergone an intense monitoring in the mass media. So in fact, if a DIF was split from Renfe in 2005, has been the news more when we have been more present in the media. So and we have seen the positive impact and the interest from the specialized media of the sector, but also from the general media and the society. So it has been really interesting to see that interest in the process of the openness of the market. With that, I finished the presentation. I was too quick to present the process of the liberalization, but I hope this was clear or interesting for you. Thank you. I cannot hear you.
Hear me now?
Yeah, perfect.
Thank you. So the Spanish experience is also very important as a major European player. It was a very comprehensive presentation. I have two short questions for Spain.
Yeah.
I mean, two main
Renfe in the past. The new scenario was created in 2000. No.
I see. As far as I understand, there are many private companies trying to country in with against or with a Renfe for the competition fiercely is coming.
They have to play with the same rules as the other companies. Renfe continue operating with the trains, of course, and also they want to start a new low-cost product. So they want to also to be attractive in this competition with the other private companies. And also Renfe has other business branches in terms of the is being prepared that scenario since years, not only for the operation here in Spain, but also to be present in other markets. Yeah.
Yes.
But it's challenging. It's challenging. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for this comprehensive and very informative presentation and answers. And finally, we go to Mr. Murat Hürmen. Well, welcome to our online.
Ben kendisini duyamıyorum. I
I think
cannot hear
we
Mr. Hürmen at the moment.
we have ability to hear.
The second topic is that the rail cargo in Turkey has two general managers. Mr. Ercüment Yener and myself, we are sharing this position, and I'd like to share with you his greetings too. So before I start with my presentation, yes, can you hear me? Hi, can you hear me?
Teknik ekibi çağırmak.
Maybe we have to consult the technical division. Our technical experts, could you help? Hi, can you hear me? Can you hear me? I will to address General Director. I don't want to bore you, Mr. Ali San Uygun, with so many numbers, but we have 666 locomotives. We have 1,388 train movements per day, 25,600 wagons, and we have 17 terminals and 18 branches. This is the rail cargo in its scope, and it has been in Turkey as a company with 100% of foreign capital. And within this, the years that have passed, at Intermodal, Europe to Turkey, Turkey to Europe, freight flow. When we analyze this freight flow, if technical stuff can follow the numbers that I have mentioned, I can continue from there. Okay, now I'd like to share with you an experience that I had many years ago. In the 90s, when I was young, I was sitting down with a friend and he was complaining to me, our ships are coming to Hamburg and we need to serve them, ship them to the south of Germany. But if we do this with lorries and we don't have enough freight to make a loft train, so we are really in big trouble. So I asked him, then what are you going to do? And he said, we don't know, we'll find a way. And then, you know what he did? As a competitor, they found two different marine companies and they gathered together and they made a gentleman agreement and they brought together, they combined their freight reach the south of Germany. So that was really important for me as something that shows how important collaboration and cooperation is. So since the 90s, collaboration has been very important for me. So we started with 2 intermodal lock trains at the beginning, and now we are in 2020. Now this number has increased to 12. Now we have 12 trains. We can go from Europe to Halkala and Halkala back to Europe. So when we finished with 251 coming trains and 251 going trains, so we did 452 trains. Last week, our 251st train left. So we shall be increasing the number. And we shall increase the number of last year. We shall double if we can. We have made a long way. And of course, we were not alone in doing this way. The huge support of TCDD, Turkish Railways, have been very impactful. There are countless projects that we made possible with their support. Let's stop here. So here you see that at present you can see our network trains that are currently operating. So with the Diana Center objectives, these are the trains that we implemented. And first we need the answer to the following question. As you know, the biggest train file belongs to Turkey. Fleet belongs to Turkey. And when you add to this picture the marine companies, there's an incredible competitiveness. But how could we bring the number of our trains to such level? And the answer to this question is cooperation, collaboration. We said, okay, the lorries are our competitors, but let's not see them only as competitors. Let's see them also as clients. So what did we do? We the Dorseys that get off the Ro-Ro vehicles, we told them that we can take them from Trieste and bring them to certain parts of Europe. And we did the same thing with the marine companies as well. So we created a concept, and thus that's how we came until today. Yes, we came, but those trains which used to be, those trains which are 12 per week, yes, it's a good number, but now we feel like we are stuck we need new objectives, new projects, new targets, new roads. So this is something that we can only bring about together with our collaborators, together with our partners. Maybe you can have 26,500 vegans, but if you cannot make this cooperation, make this collaboration happen, you will definitely end up with not the greatest success at some point. So we have an ongoing collaboration with TTT, and we shall widen this even more. We said, let's open a new service from Halkalı to Romania Curtici. And we shared our project with the railways, and they believed in us, and we started those trains, and now we have 2 trains per week. And in a short while, I think it will continue increasing. So the number of trains is not that important, but what's important is for us, and I'm repeating it. That's why I told you about my 90s about the importance of collaboration. Yes, competition is very important so long as it is done respecting the standards and rules of competition, but it's also very important to do collaboration. So if we go back 8 to 9 years, we didn't have that much of a dialogue with TCTP in the past. We made many meetings, and that's how we reached today. That's how we are able to understand each other. And we saw that the Turkish vegans while providing those innovations, the country where we offer those innovations have to be infrastructurally prepared for this. So if the infrastructure is not ready, what's going to happen? I will either be too late or the transit period will be over, and then they will tell me that you are not able to do these kinds of operations. So this is the way that we basically adopt. We put forward our project, we present to Turkish Railways, TCDD, and ask them if they could help us, support us in our new projects. And that's how it has been until now. And I have no doubt that it's going to be even better in the near future. The second topic is, as you know, there is a huge China-Europe traffic. So what we call as the northern route, which goes over Russia, there are about 600 to 800 trains per year in that route. So what we say is some of those can be brought to Kadıköy using the BTK line. And if there is a Turkish partner, we can allocate it to our partner. Or if not, if there is a European partner, we do services that leave Halkalı or Köseköy every day. So with daily journeys, we can basically organize this freight that's coming from east and then carry it to Europe. And also the same thing is the case for vice versa. We can bring them from Europe and bring them to Köseköy. We basically started with such a project. I believe and hope it will be beneficial for all. And railways is a mode of transport that is becoming increasingly important. So in the incoming models and everything, you put it on the land, then you put it on the rail, then you put it on the marine. So the intra-model that we have is that no matter if you put it on a 30 wagon or 45 wagon, we put wagons and we bring them from abroad to here. Here, what we find most important is that the railroads of the country, we should have good relationship with the railroads of the railroads administrator of the company. So the more newer and how much load we can put on the land from land to train, that's that much we shall consider ourselves successful. The Israel Almaty line, could I also show to you shortly? It must be page 3 or page 7 in my presentation. So that's all I wanted to say, Mr. Hakan. Thanks so much for the time that you've given me, and I'm ready to answer all sorts of questions that you might have.
Thank you so much again for Mr. Murat Türmen from the Austrian
Now we have a difficulty with hearing
Railways
Mr. Hakan.
company. Mr. Murat Türmen was with us. Actually, the time
Unfortunately,
is
we can't hear Mr.
6
Hakan.
past 4. Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Go ahead, Mr. Hakan.
Okay, okay. So it is 7 past 4 at the moment. Actually, we have completed our online conference time, but if